Welcome to Coffee with Carey, and know that I appreciate you stopping by today. We've spoken about ghosting before, but it was always in a very passive way. Today I wanted to share with you, despite, well, you know what ghosting is. It's when people just suddenly up and poof disappear, like pull a Casper on you without a goodbye, let alone an explanation as to why you're no longer going to be hearing from them. And for a lot of people, this is really painful. If you're working with me, you probably have a good handle and an appreciation for people leaving us if they know we're not the one, no matter how rude they are about the situation. But most people find this upsetting. I thought that there could possibly be some things we could be looking for to give us a heads up, to kind of clue us in as to whether this is the kind of person who could ghost us, so that we wouldn't feel like the rug was pulled out from beneath our feet. We wouldn't be so shocked because we'd noticed some warning signs maybe. That's what I thought we could talk about today. I have some things you could look out for, some warning signs, and jot these down or keep them in the back of your head. You don't want to be obsessing about these things, but also you don't want to be caught off guard. So that's what's on the agenda today. If that's interesting, stick around. I think it's probably useful to be able to choose to avoid people who have so many issues that they can't even be bothered to say goodbye or let you know that this is not going to work out between the two of you romantically. How difficult is it to say, you're really great, I'm glad we met, but this is not it? Basically, that's what you're saying. And you can phrase that a little more nicely by saying, it was really great getting to know you, but I think that I've realized that this is not the romantic connection I was hoping for, and I think you might agree. Or maybe you don't want to add that second part if you think the other person's really into you. It doesn't matter. If you don't believe this is the person for you, you have every right to, or they have every right to walk away. Not wanting to see somebody again is perfectly normal and it's perfectly acceptable. Not being able to say, good luck, take care, have a good one, that's what's not acceptable. But people who are likely to do that may be giving themselves away with a couple other things that they do, other ways they respond. So I thought we could get a little analytical here and take a peek at just a few things to be on the lookout for. Number one, big one, intimacy issues. Now, how are we going to know that from a date or two with somebody? I think the key things to maybe look out for would be stories about past relationships. Are they talking about very casual relationships, or did they have a long-term girlfriend? A lot of people will share, I'm a serial dater, right? As I meet new clients and talk to them, a lot of them will share with me whether or not they are a serial dater. I go from one relationship to the next. I always seem to be able to have a girlfriend for 2 years, but something always happens where it does not lead to marriage. Others will say, my longest relationship was 6 months. Well, that's going to tell me something. So be on the lookout for somebody who all of their relationships seem very short term. How about other relationships in their life? They say that they haven't talked to their parents since a year. If they say they haven't gone home to visit their folks who live a couple hundred miles away in 3 years, it doesn't seem like they have a close relationship with their parent. One of the things that leads to someone who is likely to ghost you is somebody who had absent parents, which means that nowadays they may not be super tight, have a great relationship with their folks. If that's the case, it would not be so alarming if somebody had all of these and then were also a person who didn't bother to wish you well before they ran out the door and went poof. Number two, while conversing during your first date or couple dates, you found that there are some areas where your opinions or your values diverge, right? They go in separate directions, things you don't agree on. And you may be thinking, these are not huge. We can always bridge the gap here. This is not like, oh my gosh, a huge difference in our opinions that we're going to have to go to therapy together. You may just be thinking, oh, and if we talk this through, I'm sure we can understand each other's viewpoint. It's not a big deal. A person who's likely to ghost you is a person who does not like to bridge those gaps at all. They think it's much easier to skedaddle, to poof. So pay attention to what this person might be saying when you come across areas where you disagree, whether it's your values or just different opinions on things. Pay attention to what they say around that, whether they're brushing it off because they know that they're not going to deal with it at all, or whether they're suggesting ways in the future that you can just deal with this later, or it's not a big deal, or, oh, I'm sure we'll figure it out. Or if they seem to be able to bridge those gaps easily, I wouldn't worry about it. If those things seem like really big deals, those types of people are usually much more likely to not want to solve issues, rather to escape them. Number 3, they seem like a little bit of a control freak, like me. Although I would never ghost somebody, which is why I want to point out that these are pieces to a puzzle. One puzzle piece doesn't mean anything. It could be a part of any big picture. But when you get a bunch of pieces that all seem to fit together, that's when you know that you may be dating a person who would ghost you. But people who want to just have all things under control are more likely to be people who don't want to deal with negative things. To keep things orderly, they're just more likely to walk away from it. And then finally, my last one here is that people who are likely to ghost you are avoidant. They don't like conflict. They don't like arguments. They try to avoid anything negative, including breakups or goodbyes. So somebody who's constantly glossing over things, you can tell it bothers them, but they don't want to talk about it. They struggle to discuss negatives. They don't like disagreements at all, and they struggle to discuss them or anything negative. You're looking at somebody who probably is likely to want to just wash this away, brush it under the rug, step away, start fresh with somebody new rather than deal with anything negative in their life. So watch out for those things, and if all the pieces are fitting together, you won't be quite so surprised when you suddenly your regular Saturday date is not happening because you realize you haven't talked to this person since the last Saturday. As you can see from these things, it probably wasn't anything in particular that you did. It was a lot of them, and maybe something they just didn't want to have to deal with or contend with or talk about or work out at all. And that's just part of relationships, is working through some things, because these are two unique, different people. You're going to have to figure some things out because you're not going to be on the same exact page with any other human being you know, meet, or choose to be in a relationship with. That's love. That's life. All right, I hope you found that interesting and helpful. If you did, Mother would suggest here that you maybe give the episode the thumbs up, and I hope you'll subscribe to the channel, hit that ring bell, and then you get notified every time a new episode goes live. I'll look forward to seeing you back here soon. Until next time, thank you again, and have a good one.